Hi, this is TT, and welcome to the Hoop Scoop. I'd first like to thank Probably Right for all the hard work and research he's done on this piece. Next, we want to thank our subscribers for helping us grow. We truly appreciate you, and for those that haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. In this video, we will focus on Kim Mulkey, the current head coach for the LSU Tigers women's basketball team. Mulkey has been around women's basketball for what seems like a lifetime, both as a player, part of a coaching staff, and eventually a head coach herself. And she is viewed among the greats in terms of winning. She has won 4 national championships, 3 with Baylor and 1 with LSU. But this video is not about the accomplishments, and they are many. This video is about her failure and mishandling of student athletes that she is charged with caring for and developing. Let's jump in. Britney Griner. To say Mulkey had a rocky relationship with Griner during Griner's 4 years at Baylor would not be a stretch. The truth about that relationship was revealed soon after Griner left Baylor for the WNBA. In a 2013 article by Kay Fagan of ESPN, it was revealed that Mulkey misled Griner on thinking her being gay would not be an issue playing for her in Baylor, only to do an about-face once Griner got on campus and was told by Mulkey that she was not permitted to publicize her sexual identity. The article reads, Griner, the nation's top recruit, had chosen Baylor, a private Baptist university in Waco, Texas, because it was 3 hours from Houston. She and her parents say they knew nothing of the school's policy against homosexuality or of Coach Kim Mulkey's code of silence on the matter. Griner says she came out to Mulkey during the recruiting process. It was like, I'm gay. I hope that's not a problem. And she told me that it wasn't. But within her first few weeks at Baylor, Griner was asked by a school official to delete a tweet to an ex-girlfriend. Soon enough, she found herself living in a glass closet. The article goes on to say, but Griner says she never explicitly asked Mulkey whether she could come out publicly. I already knew the answer, she says. I didn't want to hear, no, it was a recruiting thing. The coaches thought if it seemed like they condoned it, people wouldn't let their kids play for Baylor. The article continues with, in her sophomore season, she got a tattoo of 2 skulls, one happy, one sad, on the lower right side of her back, as a reminder to laugh now, cry later. And she would get other tats, so many, in fact, that Mulkey required her to wear a long-sleeve T-shirt under her jersey. And lastly, the article continues with, Ray Griner is more blunt. He says his daughter hasn't heard from Mulkey since Baylor's shocking loss to Louisville in this year's NCAA tournament. It's about dollar signs, Ray says. There's nothing in it for Kim anymore, so she's done with Britney. That's the end of me quoting the article. In our opinion, Mulkey hid from Griner the university policy that specifically forbade homosexual acts. Even worse than the deception, Mulkey offered Griner no help in dealing with her situation, as with many students at Baylor, instead implementing a don't ask, don't tell policy. Then, instead of taking accountability or offering some defense of her handling of the situation, Mulkey threatened to sue and get Fagan fired from ESPN. Years later, Griner would find herself in a Russian prison for cannabis oil. A reporter pointed out to Mulkey that they had not seen a response from her. Let's hear what she had to say.
Together. And then, too, I just wanted to get your thoughts on Britney Griner's situation. And I don't think I've seen anything from you on that. And just can you
and you won't. I'll answer the first one for you.
Mulkey was heavily criticized by many, including former players. Finally, after being released from Russia, Mulkey commented saying, God is good, prayers are powerful, Britney's on her way home, where she belongs, and so on and so forth. For the Baylor scandal, another issue Mulkey faced was her defense of Baylor in its scandal over covering up R word and S assault. I've used those to assure we don't get flagged on YouTube. Let's hear from Mulkey what she thinks about reporters inquiring about the heinous acts.
I work here every day. I'm in the know. And I'm tired of hearing it. This is a great institution. The problems we have at Baylor are no different than the problems at any other school in America. Period. Move on. Find another story to write.
This is extremely problematic. If you ask any person that has been assaulted if being assaulted is happening elsewhere is an acceptable excuse, I assure you they will say no. As an adult and person left in charge of young women, I find it very disturbing that Mulkey found this an acceptable response. She later attempted at rolling back this statement, but it was too late. Moving on to 2020, in the height of the pandemic, let's hear what Mulkey had to say about the protocols put in place to protect players, coaches, media, and others.
You know, and I want to say this to all of you. I don't think my words will matter, but after the games today and tomorrow, there's 4 teams left, I think, on the men's side and the women's side. They need to dump the COVID testing. Wouldn't it be a shame to keep COVID testing and then you got kids that end up having test positive or something and they don't get to play in the Final Four? So you need to just forget the COVID test and let the 4 teams that are playing in each Final Four go battle it out.
What can I say? This was a time of great stress and uncertainty for America, as most were being told to stay home for theirs and others' safety. Yet another tone deaf statement from this adult that should be championing for the protection of her players and students alike. Yet later, after Mulkey herself tested positive, which she contracted during a holiday get together she hosted, did an about face telling reporters the NCAA only cared about money and not the safety of its participants. Make it make sense, y'all. Fast forward to 2024 to the LSU scuffle with South Carolina, where some pushing, trash talking, and refs swallowing their whistle led to a full on scuffle, with a brother of a player jumping from his seat to enter the fray. When the dust settled, Mulkey had an opportunity to speak on the scuffle and refocus everyone's attention back to the tournament. But no, no, no. That would be too much like right. Instead, Mulkey took yet another opportunity to set yet another very bad example in her response, and it was baffling to say the least. Let's play the video.
It's ugly. It's not good. No one wants to be a part of that. No one wants to see that ugliness. But I can tell you this. I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese. Don't push a kid. You 6'8". Don't push somebody that little. That was uncalled for, in my opinion. Let those 2 girls that were jawing, let them go at it.
On the other side, South Carolina coach Dawn Staley was completely opposite in her response than Mulkey's combativeness, instead apologizing multiple times. Let's see what the South Carolina coach Dawn Staley had to say about the scuffle. She responded to the LA Times article comparing predominantly white players to milk and cookies while comparing the predominantly black players to dirty debutantes. Mulkey chose to skip over the racial tones in this piece and instead address it as sexism. While she did make an effort, I'm wondering if she's looking at the same team I'm looking at. Not sure how this one could have gotten missed. We aren't looking to make this racial, but clearly both teams are women. Mulkey also failed Angel Reese in dealing with the many things that have happened to her since winning the championship last year. Reese states that she's had death threats and more, but we can't recall Mulkey calling for the stop to the villain narrative that the media has pinned on Reese. Does she talk trash? For sure. But if her coach condones it and even encourages it, and I'm not saying she's wrong for doing so, but if that's what you're going to do, then you should also protect her. Period. Moving on to Haley Van Lith. Now we will talk on her handling of 2024 March Madness and Haley Van Lith and the loss to Iowa, with the majority of the blame being laid at Van Lith's feet. Mulkey, as a head coach, knew that Van Lith's old team Louisville, which had 2 bigger and better defenders, got destroyed by Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeyes. And her own team, LSU, barely got by Clark the previous year. Yet, she decided, in her wisdom, to put a sick, at least that's what the reports are saying, undersized shooting guard as the primary defender on Caitlin Clark, who has only improved since last year. Everyone expected this assignment to go to Flau'jae Johnson, who had just shown her defensive prowess against UCLA's Kiki Rice the previous game. Let me get back to making my point. As Van Lith was being crucified and still is being crucified in these internet streets, yet Mulkey has offered no defense of her, instead stating, well, let's cut to the tape.
There's not a whole lot of strategy. You got to guard her. Nobody else seems to be able to guard her. We didn't even guard her last year when we beat them. She's just a generational player, and she just makes everybody around her better.
How about taking some accountability and possibly saying something like, I didn't have the best game plan for guarding Clark, or maybe I didn't make the adjustments needed when I saw that Van Lith was not a good match for Caitlin Clark. Or even, I should have never made this Van Lith defensive assignment because it stifled her offensive game and put us at a double negative in the loss to Iowa. It is worth noting that of the top 100 recruits for 2024, only one has committed to LSU, and that is the 90th ranked Jada Richard from Louisiana. On the flip side, after only 4 games, Katari Poole left the team to enter the transfer portal. I'm sure there's a story behind this. We just don't know it yet. But when Mulkey was asked about it, she blew it off as if it was nothing.
Coach, we also didn't see Kateri Poole tonight. Is there a timetable?
She's
maybe
no
for her
longer
return?
with us.
So she's not on the team at all?
Correct.
She won't be back this season?
Correct.
Okay. I guess overall, without her, the depth behind her, Janae, Angelica,
Well,
what did you see from them tonight, and what do you hope to see
Well,
them
you
moving
got to
forward?
count Haley in there. Haley's, she's just kind of nursing that plantar fasciitis. Depth, anytime you lose any player for any reason, your depth becomes smaller, but I still think we have plenty. We have plenty.
After the season, Haley Van Lith, Janae Kent, and freshman point guard Angelica Velez have all entered the transfer portal to find a better home. If the university and the media chooses to not hold Kim Mulkey responsible or accountable, will we see a shift where the parents and the students will? What do you have to say about it? What's your thoughts on Kim Mulkey? Even if it's about winning being all, right? We'd love to hear your opinion. Do you think she's a great coach? Do you think she's failing? Let us know in the comment section. Thank you for listening. Again, like and subscribe if you have not already, and have a great day. Goodbye.